Hey, 11th graders. I'm here today because it is time for you to take your ACT test. Next Tuesday, March 9th, is your ACT date. You will come to the school in the morning like a regular school day, but instead of doing classes, you'll be doing your ACT test. You are about to embark on preparing for your future by applying to college, applying for scholarships to help pay for that college, and your ACT test score is very necessary for those things. So I assumed that you probably had a lot of questions about it. I've been sending you a lot of emails, and you've probably heard vague conversation around the school. Maybe your academic teachers have been doing some bell ringer questions that are like ACT test questions. So I thought maybe Jade and I could have a conversation today, and as she asked questions about the ACT, it might answer some of the questions that you have. So hello, Jade.
Hey, Ms. Watkins. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to ask you about the ACT is being so close to where we're taking the test now, how can I still prepare for the test?
Okay, and we are pretty close, but to me, getting familiar with what the test is like is important. And I know I've sent you a lot of emails, but I'm probably going to send you an email almost every day between now and test time. So I will try to make my next email include some links to some ACT sources for practice tests and information about the test. This little booklet, Taking the ACT Test, this is what I sent you an email about last night. So it has a lot of information just in general about the ACT test and also about setting up the My ACT account. But it can give you some preparation tips, some last minute things. We have some practice tests in the counselor's office that students are free to come by and pick up to do at home, and that would be a great activity over the weekend, is to maybe run through a couple of practice tests and just get in mind how ACT asks their questions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so with what you just said, I just thought about this. What all does the ACT consist of? Like, I know there's different portions, and how many questions are, and what's the time frames and all of that?
So I don't know the number of questions on each one. I do know the time frames though. So your first test is reading, and it's 45 minutes long. And your second test is math, and it's 60 minutes long. And you can use a calculator on the math test. The school is not providing your calculator, so you'll have to bring one. And it has to be an approved calculator, which if you go on the ACT.org website, you can put in the search box a calculator policy, approved calculator policy, and you can find out what kind of calculators are approved. Then you will get a 15-minute break after those two tests, and I'm going to ask you to bring your own snack. We'll have some waters here. Bring your snack in a bag labeled. And then your next two tests will be 35 minutes each, and they are reading and science. Okay, then you are taking the ACT with writing. So we'll take a short break after the science test, and we'll start into the ACT writing. And it is somewhere around 60 minutes. It might be a little bit short of that, but it's about 60 minutes long. So that is kind of, that's the time frame. I do not know the number of questions for each section though.
Okay. So you mentioned the My ACT account and having to set it up. I know that it's supposed to help with putting in some of our information before we take the test. How exactly do we set up our accounts, and what all are we doing with it?
Good question, Jade. So some of you may have already taken the ACT test before, and you may already have some type of ACT account. If you set up that account in something called Student Web Services, it is supposed to migrate over to My ACT. And that should be happening. However, some of you may have either taken the test and not set up an account, or you've never taken the test and so you don't have an ACT account. Again, in this little booklet, there's some information about creating that My ACT account. I'm trying to remember if on the pre-ACT we did this, and I think we might have done a little bit of it, but the ACT has an interest inventory. It has a section about college plans.
We did it for the pre-ACT.
And it has a section about what classes you've taken. It's kind of called your high school resume. So this year, the ACT has decided that all of that will be done online. And it can be done by students individually at home prior to taking the test. So that's why you need to create a My ACT account, because that's where you'll answer all those questions. So the information that I mentioned in the email that I sent yesterday, that was Tuesday night, so I hope you haven't deleted that email, and I asked parents, I sent it to parents as well. I told you about picking up this booklet. It will also include a copy of your transcript so you can answer those questions about the courses that you've taken and what grades you made. It has this little cheat sheet about creating My ACT account, and on the back it has directions if you already have an account, how you can update it. An additional document that's going to be with this is a document that has a unique student code. It's unique to each student. And you need that to put in your My ACT account, because it connects everything to your name, and it will store, when you take future ACT tests, it will keep all your test scores together. Another benefit of getting this done for this ACT test is ACT will allow you to send your score for free to 4 colleges or universities. I have students a lot of time that hesitate to do that if it's the first time they've taken the test, because they're afraid that if they have a bad score, the college won't want them or they won't be considered. Do not worry about that. Colleges always take your best scores. If you score higher on the next test, they'll take your higher score. They update every time you send them a new test score. So do not hesitate to go ahead and send those scores, because I find that a lot of times for my juniors, this is their best score, is when they take the ACT here at the school in the spring. So it's worth creating this account, getting this information in for ACT. They use it for research purposes. It's probably some of how they come up with their benchmark scores. And just very important, I hope that you all will take the time to do it before test date.
Okay, so with test date being Tuesday and us not having regular classes, you said some of the stuff about the calculator and everything. What all do we need to bring to be prepared for the ACT on Tuesday?
Okay, because I have mentioned several things.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I want you to bring your bright and cheerful self, well rested, having eaten breakfast, comfortable clothing. I want you to bring your own snacks, and I want you to put them in a bag and label them with your name, and we'll have some monitors and some helpers who will gather those and have them ready for your class, your test group, when you get ready to take a break. We will have waters here for you. If you want something else to drink, you'll have to bring it. So cheerful self, snack, number 2 pencils. You cannot use mechanical pencils, and you cannot use pens. You just need to get over it. It's going to be a number 2 pencil. We will have extras there, but please try to remember to bring your own. I'm going to ask that if you're going to leave right after the test, that you bring a note from home that will allow you to check out. And your room supervisor will take those up from you once you're admitted into the room. Another very important thing is some form of ID. So there's new teachers, there's new counselors here, and there's new students here, and so there may be people that we don't know and we can't identify everyone. I will send you a piece of paper that says what kinds of acceptable ID. Of course, your picture, driver's license, your learner's permit that has your picture on it, any form of a government-issued ID that has your picture on it, or a school ID. And we didn't issue those this year, so that's a problem. There is also, if you have none of the acceptable forms of identification, there is a letter that I can create for you that is an identification letter. You just have to let me know that I need to do that. And I think if you come with all of that, you will be well prepared. Oh, one more thing. I will, at some point, I'm going to send out a bus survey. So if you do not have transportation that morning and you need the bus to pick you up in the morning and ride it home in the afternoon, I'm going to send a survey asking if you need bus service. So it'll just be your typical bus route that you would get on that bus, but they will make a run in the morning and they will make a run in the afternoon. And if you have to stay for the bus to go home, you will go to the cafeteria and stay until 3 o'clock. Also, we will provide lunches. The lunchroom will have lunches after the test is over, especially for students that stay. If you're not going to stay, it would be helpful to have on that note that you're not planning to stay and you don't want a lunch.
All right, well, you definitely answered some of my questions,
Good,
so I really
good.
appreciate it, and I really hope that you answered everybody else's, and I'm sure if not, they can always email you,
Exactly.
and you will definitely answer them, and I really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Watkins.
Thank you for letting me do this. Good luck, students. Got to give it your best.